Blunt force trauma is when a relatively low velocity impact is applied to a relatively large surface area.
Blunt force trauma to the back of the skull and a fracture the occipital bone.
My name is Paige. I have a master's in forensic anthropology. Let's dive into this video. Forensic anthropologists will observe blunt force trauma on the bones to assist medical examiners in determining the relative cause or manner of death. Blunt force trauma is caused by a variety of different causes, some of those being objects such as a weapon or a person's fist, a fall from a height, or transportation accidents. During a forensic anthropologist examination, they're going to try to determine information pertaining to things like the type of tool used, the direction of the impact, how much force was applied, and if there are multiple impacts, the sequence of those events. Common characteristics of blunt force trauma include depressions, fractures, delamination, which is when the outer table of a cranial bone is separated from the rest of the bone, plastic deformation, which just means a permanent change in the structure of the bone, tool marks, or impressions. Now let's talk about some common fractures that are seen in the field. Radiating or concentric fractures of the skull are very common, and it happens when an impact is applied to the external structure of the skull. This actually causes the inside of the skull to bend inwardly, and this tensile stress, which is just a pulling stress, causes the fracture to start on the inside of the skull and radiate to the outside of it. So with that impact, we're going to have the fracture lines radiate outwardly from the impact site. And if that impact then continues further into the skull, we're going to have a concentric fracture. This is going to circumscribe the original impact site and further depress the skull inwardly. If there are multiple impact sites, a forensic anthropologist can determine the sequence of events by examining the pattern of fracture lines. Fracture lines will continue until the energy of the force dissipates. This can either happen naturally or if there's something that disrupts that original force. So if we have multiple impact sites, the fracture lines of the original sites are going to interrupt the fracture lines of the subsequent hits. Similarly, we can also see here, this fracture line was interrupted by the cranial suture, and it wasn't strong enough to cross over that suture. If you're enjoying this video, like and follow the Bone Museum for more. These interesting fractures are referred to as Lefort fractures. There are 3 different patterns of facial fractures that are understood and well documented thanks to the buttressing of the skull. This is when certain areas are more reinforced than others. If you want to learn more about this, check out Nori's video. This right here is a Colles fracture. Colles fractures are the most common form of forearm fracture, and it's when this distal end of the radius is going to break and it's going to move posteriorly and superiorly. We most commonly see it when someone falls and catches themselves on their outstretched hands. This is commonly seen in older people, especially women who are over 50 and have osteoporosis. Or it can happen in high-speed sports injuries such as skateboarding or snowboarding falls. Hangman fractures are when both pedicles of the C2 vertebra are broken. They're called this because they're commonly seen in judicial hangings, when the head snaps back, causing both of these pedicles to break. However, they can also be observed in sports or motor vehicle accidents. If you like this video, come visit us at the Bone Museum in Brooklyn, New York.